the main priority for you was kind of focusing on getting some of your athletes home. I know you do have international athletes. Were they able to go home, or what's the status on that?
Yeah, so we have two international athletes. One of them, Noe Khalif, is with the Brown family, so he's in Iowa with Alex Brown and his family. And then Sipos Monsi was in Champaign. And then he has an uncle that lives in Fort Lauderdale, in Boca. So he got a flight down there on Monday, so he's down in Boca with his uncle down there. So he's got some family down there. So both our international players are here in the States still. Yeah.
Okay, good. What was your initial reaction just to all of these events that have taken place over the last few weeks?
It's just been so, it was just one. It seems to have slowed a little bit in the last 48 to 72 hours, but over that first initial time period, it was just, every 12 hours you're sort of waiting for the next bang. And I think the biggest one for me was that Wednesday when, the Ivies had already announced the cancellation of their spring seasons. That seemed so drastic. The day before that, Indian Wells, the big tennis tournament, had canceled, and those measures at the time, in my mind, seemed so drastic. And then it was just, it's the next day. Wednesday night is when the Jazz and the Thunder game happened. And I remember I didn't watch the game, but I had ESPN on, in the background as I was doing some work, and just remember, like, holy cow, this is, everything has been sort of another blow, if you will. And then Thursday was the cancellation of our seasons. First, just the Big Ten cancellation, which, in the afternoon, that was that. And then we're meeting with Josh. And while we're meeting with Josh, all the coaches are getting a notification that now the NCAA portion has been canceled as well. So it's just wave upon wave. And then trying to digest that with, just now how to communicate that to the team, to the parents, and doing the best we can with that. So it's just been, I certainly hope a once-in-a-lifetime event that we'd never have to go through anything like this again. It's been difficult.
Right. What was the conversation that you had to have with your players if you did get the chance to do that?
Yeah, we did. We sat and met with the team, and I told them, I told them really three things, and that was number one, that typically at the end of the season you're somewhat prepared as a coach to discuss the season. Like, hey, these are some things that we did well. These are some things we didn't do well. We look to next year and can do better. And I said, guys, I've had, I usually have a season to prepare for that talk. And I said, I've got 30 seconds to prepare for that talk. It's kind of like we find out. And so I said, whatever I say, take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know what there's to say. And then I was really, really proud of our team. We had a difficult start this year, and they really turned it around. I feel like we were heading in the right direction. And so I told the guys just, how proud I was of them for that turnaround. And then third, we had some seniors on our team that really handled this year about as well as you can handle it, in terms of they came to the coaching staff. They sort of said, hey, these are A and B. These are some problems that we're having, with the team, and not necessarily these are issues, fix them, but these are issues, and also here are some ideas to fix them. And so I felt like the seniors took tremendous ownership in not only just pointing out problems, but providing some solution for the coaches. So those are really the three messages. I said, guys, I don't know what to say. This is the status of where things are. Proud of the whole team, and then really especially proud of our seniors.
Yeah, and given that spring sports could have, the possibility of that extra year of eligibility, have you spoken with them about that, and do you know how they're feeling in regards to maybe coming back again?
Yeah, so we've had sort of three different conversations with that. The first one I sent out, I said, hey, I have no idea what's going to happen. The NCAA last Friday was putting out release about additional years of eligibility. My first initial reaction to that was, man, there's a lot of logistics that would go into that could make that difficult. And then earlier this week, I had conversations with the guys, just sort of saying, this is where I think where we are, but I think that could still be changing. And then now, as this week's gone on, sort of having that same dialogue, that I think until, my understanding, there's groups of compliance officers, there's groups of ADs and presidents that are working on the logistics of this. And I feel like what I've told our team and all of our prospective athletes is until we get sort of a concrete foundation of like, yes, this is what's going to happen, I feel it's all speculative at this point. So I just said, we're not going to make any actions. We're not going to do anything else. We are literally just going to, just kind of move forward with this. So.
And I know Alex and Vuk, they kind of played in a couple of pro tournaments over the summer. Did they maybe express wanting to go, full time into the pro circuit?
So that's something obviously with our team, we're dealing with that every year anyways. Guys are attempting to move on to professional tennis. And I think that the only one that had any sort of strong consideration of that this past year would have been Kovacevic. And so, in my early discussions with him, number one, he's been sick, not with Corona, but he's had the actual flu. And so he's been stuck in Champaign. And so he's just now getting better, and I think trying to get himself prepared to potentially get home to Florida, at the moment. So I think, as he and I both said, we just had dialogue, information exchange, and I think we just said, hey, as we get any more clarity, we'll start to talk more about that in the future. So.
Right, yeah, and I think that's kind of the whole thing with this situation is no one really knows, so it's hard to prepare for the future. So you mentioned that turnaround a little bit that you guys experienced this season. You were 2-0 to start Big Ten play. You were just kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Where do you feel like you had the potential to take this program with that turnaround that you mentioned?
Well, it was really interesting because I think, go back to January, we had a fantastic training trip. We came out of that training trip, I think guys were guns blazing, feeling like, we're gonna set the world on fire. And then the interesting thing about that is, we have the opening dual match of the season, and again, that's in the kickoff weekend. It's just high pressure stakes, and we still had 4 match points in the doubles, and then Lucas Horvey serving for the match to put us through. And I felt like, man, we were right there. And then that little blow, I think, just shook us, and it shook us, to be honest, as hard as we could. And so I think there was just a little bit of rebound, recovery from that, and even going back to our Baylor match, which we lost, I felt like, okay, we're at least getting back to who we are a little bit here. And then I think obviously starting the Big Ten play 2-0 sort of solidified that, yeah. So I really think we had a chance to contend for the Big Ten title. That's always our goal. And then to see, just how deep we can go in an NCAA title. And I think with what I was seeing from our guys, there's no reason to think we could not have done that.
What was it like for you this season to reach that 300 win mark?
This sounds awful to say, but somewhat meaningless, other than the fact that there's a chance for me to reach out to to previous student athletes and almost congratulate them, because I've got a number of people saying congrats to me, and I'm like, it's not me. You're the one that did all the work for it. So I think it was just a great chance, more than anything, to connect with some of the great student athletes that have been through the program.
Awesome. So what's the plan now besides, maybe hanging out at the pool? Is there anything on deck for what you guys need to take care of with the program?
Yeah, Marcos and I are talking every day, and I think, our 2 big goals at the moment, which probably is communicating with our current student athletes. That's number one, is just making sure that we're all on the same page. And there's, the reality is there's no training to do right now. I had one of my young guys say, I'm practicing this, and I'm practicing. I'm like, easy, Tiger. Like, there'll be time and place to sort of regain the focus. And I think right now is a time of reflection for everybody, and prioritizing wherever they are, and health and physical health, mental health, all those things are really, really important. So that's the first step. And then the second part is, while we've got the recruiting dead period, the one thing we're able to do is make phone calls. And so we've been on the phone quite a bit, recruiting. And I think, we're going to do that. I think the next step for us when I return home is really to sit down and write some thank you notes to all the people that are special in our program. We've got some time to do. We're not on the court practicing, so I think if we can set aside an hour or 2 a day to just jot some handwritten notes out to the people that make our program special and let them know what a big difference they are. So those are, it sounds crazy, but you're really dumbing down to the basic simplicities right now.
Yeah. Well, any big vacation plans? What are you up to on the beach, at the pool?
Well, I think they're going to close our beach here. Sounds like tonight or tomorrow this beach will be closed like all the other ones around. So I mean, the great thing for me, my brother and his family are down here. My parents are down here, so I don't usually get to see them, and so it's a chance for us to connect with them. And at the same token, we're trying to do our best to continue to practice the social distancing. So as we're doing that, we're trying to keep our space from everyone else. And normally we go to the ice cream store every night, so we're not able to go. So the kids are wondering, hey, and then no ice cream. So I just those are the extreme minor inconveniences of the Dancer family. But right now, everything we're spoiled. We're fortunate that we're around family and all healthy right now.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to get on this call with me, and I wish you good health and enjoy the sunshine.
You as well, Marlee. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. Bye.